Hello and welcome to STARLIMS webinar series. On behalf of Abbott Informatics, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's event, See and Understand Your Data, Applying Business Intelligence Solutions as a LIMS User. My name is Caroline Araujo. I am the Marketing Manager at Abbott Informatics and will be moderating the event. Today's speaker is Arne Bailliere, Business Consultant and Application Trainer at Abbott Informatics. Following the presentation, we will move into a live questions and answers session where you can pose questions to today's speaker as well as Dr. Andreas Schuller, Technical Solution Design Manager at Abbott Informatics. Please remember you can submit questions at any point during the webinar using the questions panel in the menu on the right. We will try to address as many questions as possible during our time together. But if we run out of time, the unaddressed questions will be answered via email. Additional resources can be accessed via the resource window also located on the right of your screen. And just to remind you, the recording of this webinar will be available later this week at Abbott Informatics website. I'll now hand over to Arne.
Thank you very much, Caroline, and welcome everybody. Thank you for your presence in this webinar. I will start with a little theme introduction here. My name is Arne Bailliere. I am a business consultant and an Abbott Informatics. I was a LIMS administrator for the BCRT, Berlin Center for Regenerative Therapies, here in Berlin, working with the Charité, doing cancer research a couple of years ago. And then I rolled into the LIMS industry where I had a number of functions varying from customer support, becoming account manager, sales representative, etc., etc. So I have some years of experience in helping customers implement and consulting with LIMS. And today we're going to look at business intelligence solutions and advanced analytics. And I will be joined today by Dr. Andreas Schuller. He's the head of business consultants in the region, and he will be answering your questions in the chat box, but also live after the demo part of our presentation. So don't hesitate to ask any questions that you have about business intelligence solutions in a LIMS context in the chat box and afterwards in the Q&A session, because Andreas is very, very apt at answering them and a real expert in the matter. So we will be able to start slowly with the presentation part. And the first thing we're going to do is have a look at the trends that to the rise of business intelligence in a lab context in the recent years. So the continuing trends towards digitalization of data in the lab produces more and more data every year. And that's, of course, the biggest factor that we're dealing with when trying to make sense out of all this data. The drive to go paperless offers operational benefits in improving productivity and in reducing cycle times. It enables you to leverage experimental and operational data generated along the entire research, development, manufacturing continuum. Business intelligence solutions manage the vast quantities of data being generated and leverage them in an efficient manner. When laboratory instruments first started producing digital files, and I'm sure that some of you remember that era, they were simply stored on the local computer disk. With removable storage and networking abilities, files could then be collated and collected into a basic folder-based repository. And many today view this now as hopelessly outdated because we have so much cloud capabilities now that are entering in the lab. But the reality is that some labs still rely on local file storage for simplicity and for cost effectiveness. Today's labs can better leverage their data, digital capture, data standardization, and cloud-enabled technologies. The multitude of data, along with the context provided by metadata, we'll talk about that later, metadata is data about the data, provides lots of opportunities for new and advanced analytics efforts and data visualization, which is what we will see later in the demo. At a glance, anyone can investigate resource use like materials, instruments, lab space use, but also personnel, resources, human resources use. And identify analytical bottlenecks on the go with this new advanced analytics business intelligence tool, something that was taking months, even years before to really get to map those problems. The contextualized data and the defined relationships between data facilitate multi-factor analytics, enabling manufacturing trend line analysis, for example, detailed batch and quality analysis. Unlocking and leveraging the analytics aspects of a business allows the true power of big data to be realized. And that's something that we'll talk about later. It's not about having the data, it's also about being able to use the data and to draw conclusions. In visual analytics, visualization and analysis are done side by side in the same interface or in the same dashboard, so the results can be visualized immediately. The tight connection between visualization and analysis offers a powerful and immediate data exploration and understanding. One of the reasons why companies increasingly adopt self-service solutions is to address the challenge to have access to their data and their information anytime and anywhere. So to be totally in control of the data flow and to be able to have the interpretations of those data immediately at your disposition. That's the whole goal of business intelligence solutions. To keep ahead of competition, you might need to act as quickly as possible on these new insights that you glean from analytics. As a result, the demand for simple, quick, and user-friendly BI software solutions is on the rise. So enterprises are striving to enable users, their business users, or their lab users, to build or design their queries, to build and design their own reports based on the information that they are after in an easy way, and combine them for their own use and for the needs of their team. So it's enabling a lot of people to take part in the analysis procedure within the company. And that's what we are also after when we are implementing advanced analytics. It's really to facilitate the advanced analytics components in the lab. Talking about labs, let's start out by talking about labs in general and what are some of the decisions that labs need to make. There are decisions which are concerned with day-to-day operations, lab managers or supervisors responsible for day-to-day management of the lab. They want to identify bottlenecks in their laboratory processes. That's something they're always after to streamline, to get those out of the way, to get the turnaround time to be shorter and get these stumbling stones out of the way. But you will never identify them if you don't know what is happening. QA managers, they are mostly concerned about why there are so many out-of-spec results. There are decisions related to overall performance. So am I meeting my key performance indicator goals? Am I meeting my customers' expectations? How can I lower costs and increase efficiency? And there are also decisions related to long-term planning and strategy. So what are the long-term trends in my lab? Which tests are growing? Do I need to allocate more resources to a certain department because there's a growing workload there? And maybe even this advanced analytics, approach could help me understand how I can build a business case for a new instrument or to acquire new personnel. Do I really need it, or is also one of those questions that that can be answered quite easily. But the key challenge in all of this is to find data. The key challenge many labs face today is that it's difficult to find data to make the decisions. And this is challenging for a few reasons. At first, the finding of the data itself may be challenging because either the data is not kept at all, or it is kept on paper, and it needs to be manually collected and put together, and this is very, very time-consuming. Second, if you have the data, it might be difficult to pull it into a cohesive format for analysis because data is stored in so many different formats, and they're not in a format conducive for analysis, and it would take a long time to gather them and to synchronize them to be able to gather them in a way that they would allow you to make a real analysis out of them. But it's not even over then. So once you got your data and you got it all pulled together, you need the insights from the data. As rows and columns, if you have some Excel files or whatever formats that you have that you're working with, they translate it into something which is actionable. You would need to have personnel who can do this and tools to draw meaningful insights into what the data is telling you and how it can improve your business. And even when you have all of this, it's not over. So there are more questions which are generated, and getting additional follow-up reports that answer the questions from the answers that were generated from the previous analysis can be slow and challenging because not all the labs have enough resources, because the resources may be not available to run the reports. It could be IT or business resources that are scarce, and this can create bottlenecks to getting your information, the information you need to make effective decisions. Now let's talk about the business intelligence in a lab context, and combined with the LIMS, the Laboratory Information Management System, which is what our product STARLIMS is. And a LIMS, as you know, captures what is called transactional data, which records details of each sample moving in the lab. The sample data, the test results, etc. So each sample that you are dealing with in the lab has a corresponding number of records. To sample data and test results data, the LIMS also stored what is called metadata. And metadata is data about the data, such as when was the sample logged? Who logged it in, and when did it move from one location to another, etc., etc. This could also be additional information that is related to a sample, such as standard SOP documentation, standard operating procedures, etc., etc. All kinds of info that you can relate to a sample that have nothing to do with the actual transactions within the lab, but that are relevant to understand what's going on with the sample and why it is going on. So there's lots and lots and lots of data being generated, and that's all stored in the LIMS. In the LIMS. So this entire growing amount of data all is a basis to draw certain questions and conclusions. But how? What if we could aggregate this daily transactional data and look at it over weeks or months or even years? And we will be able to see us developing and patterns that, that jump out on how our lab is operating. This data in aggregates can provide rich insights into the laboratory operations. For example, looking at the average time it takes a sample to be logged in over a period of weeks, months, or over a year may provide insights into improvements in laboratory intake, or also regresses and what could be done about it. Data showing the average volume by analysts or by equipment may provide insights into the utilization of laboratory resources. Looking at this kind of data can also provide insight into what is causing a problem. For example, if the lab is consistently missing turnaround time, analyzing the data can provide insights into why the lab is missing turnaround times. Is it because of an instrument that needs to be calibrated too often? That is somehow something's not wrong, not right with it. It's not performing optimally, or maybe there's a certain service group where there's continuous or a certain lab project group that has continuous problems with meeting the target, or it could even be an individual employee who needs further training on a certain procedure in the lab. And this can all be identified through the good use of business intelligence tools within the lab, and when they are connected with the LIMS. It can not only identify opportunities for errors, but it can also identify areas for improvement. For example, analyzing the workload per employee may provide insights into the process flow within the lab and where there may be bottlenecks which need to be alleviated, on how the workload could be better partitioned in the team. Our products, STARLIMS Advanced Analytics, allows you to analyze the data contained within your LIMS and understand your lab operations in new ways. You can not only identify a problem area, drill down to find the underlying root cause, and that's when you start to formulate solutions. You can focus on specific areas using advanced filtering options. You can identify trends and patterns over time and visualize your laboratory processes to identify bottlenecks and areas of opportunities. All of this allows you to improve efficiency and productivity in your lab. There is something that's playing an increasing part in labs today, and that has been coming for a number of years now. And that's something I need to address. It's called machine learning, of course, in relation with artificial intelligence, which is playing an increasing role in determining certain patterns in sample behavior, and also in creating large volumes of results on certain amounts of tests. For example, in the coronavirus, now there are tests being run on a multiple large basis, incredible amounts of text, and artificial intelligence is playing a role in determining on how a possible vaccine could react against certain conditions in certain subjects. So it's not just there. Of course, it's everywhere in the lab. But machine learning is a big discussion. It's a big topic nowadays on how to make data even more meaningful and how it can be used to predict events and generate deeper insights in data. Basically, machine learning is the use of algorithms on data and making predictions. This can be predictions of a bottleneck in the lab, the outcome of a stability test at a very, very early stage even, or helping to find the best ingredients for a new recipe. In advanced analytics, R, the programming language R, can be used for incorporating statistical and probability calculations in your analysis. Also, ready-to-use machine learning can be used by the integration of TAPI and the Python ML library. Some examples of predictive analytics can be found in the content library from Advanced Analytics that is ready to use for our customers. We'll have a look at the content library in the demo, have a look at some ready-to-use dashboards that are built on the BI solutions that are integrated in our LIMS from Advanced Analytics. So some of them use use machine learning and artificial intelligence for prediction of lab workload in the future. So we are actively developing in this direction. This is a small overview of what the process and the context of business intelligence solutions is at the moment for labs. And we're going to go to a demo now to show you some insights in how the advanced analytics product has been integrated in our LIMS solution and what it means in the lab context. We'll talk about creating workbooks with the Advanced Analytics Builder. We show you very easily in a simple example how it's done. We're going to show you how you can use Advanced Analytics dashboards, and we're going to show you how you really can actively intervene in the LIMS from within the BI dashboards, the Advanced Analytics dashboards, and in the sense that the product is totally integrated in our system. So this is now the next stage for us is to go into a live the demo of the system. Afterwards, you will have a better overview of what advanced analytics means for us and how it can be of interest for you, I hope, and maybe have some more interest in getting to know this product better. And there will be questions and answer session that you will have the opportunity, and my colleague Andreas will be at your disposition to answer these questions. So I would start the demo now. To start out, I suggest that we have a look at the Advanced Analytics Builder, which is a tool we use to design workbooks, and it's quite intuitive. It's mostly drag and drop, so anybody can use this. You'll see it's quite easy. The basic idea here is that all of the data that's stored in the LIMS and in the tables, of course, of the database will be at our disposition to drag and drop into a tool that helps us visualize the content. In this easy example for starters, we are applying a color filter using the sample status, which allows us to view the status of the sample per service group regarding to the total number of samples out of spec and the ones that are done. Now, adding the sample log date as a dimension to the columns of the visual representation will give us the possibility to view the volume of samples per department over time, and not only per year, but we can also drill down per quarter or per month. As you can see, when building the dashboards in the builder, the data is already dynamically responsive when hovering over the visualizations. You can also choose different kinds of visualizations, of course, pie charts, bubble charts, or volume graphs over time if you want to represent the data in a different way to make it easily understandable. This is all standard functionality that's offered with our Advanced Analytics Builder. All in all, the Advanced Analytics Builder is a very intuitive tool that will allow you to create powerful visualizations of your LIMS data. You can learn all the tips and tricks in the training that we offer with our Advanced Analytics product. And this training is very, very profound, and after this you will be able to build your own dashboards on the go. Now let's log into STARLIMS and see how Advanced Analytics has been integrated into our LIMS. As you can see, the Advanced Analytics dashboard is fully integrated within STARLIMS and helps you analyze the data within the STARLIMS Lab Information Management System. You can derive new insights into how your lab is running. In the content library, you can easily browse the dashboards and identify the ones which may be useful for your industry or your business. STARLIMS offers a wide variety of pre-built, ready-to-go dashboards that you can use already on the go. So I suggest that we have a look at what's already in the system, and it may be of interest to you. Turnaround time is a very important metric for all industries, and in this case we can see all the samples of the lab broken down by teams and status. As such, the analyst can focus on the right data, whether it be the pending work, completed work, one specific team, a mixture of teams, or all the site's teams. There is a timeline showing the samples on time versus the late samples to easily see when we meet commitments or not. In this specific case right here, I am able to find out what tests, the amount of tests that were out of spec last year across all sites, just by using the predefined and pre-built functionality of this standard dashboard. If we investigate the turnaround time dashboard a little bit deeper and find other interesting info, we can immediately export it to Excel or to an image file or to a PDF so that we can share that information straight away. This is of course a standard functionality with all our dashboards in the system. Let's take a look at this client request analysis dashboard, which allows us to understand the requests demand by customers over time. At a glance, it is possible to identify the most demanding customers, so special attention can be paid to them. They are listed on the lower left side. By looking at the stacked area chart, it's easy to understand sample distribution by customers over time. So peaks will stand out, and it allows to quickly spot any important variation in volume. The standard functionality that comes with this Advanced Analytics dashboard allows us to gain a better understanding and insight also about our customer relationships. So we can select certain groups of customers here and see how their requests have evolved over a longer period of time, and if there's a certain growth percentage that they have achieved or if there are regresses. The kind of insights that we get from this may allow us to better serve a particular customer, because the analysis of past request volume allows us to better prepare for future requests. This is the client's turnaround time dashboard. So when talking about commitments to customers, the lab will typically refer to their turnaround time. So they will set a target date for release of the results, and then typically they will commit to these dates to the customer. To measure this, the turnaround time is a typical metric used. So in this workbook, the focus is on the customer. So we want to understand per day which customer is given back the most samples and what is the average turnaround time. When we can answer these questions, we can align our commitments and understand how we are doing. Finally, all the time spent is broken down by analyst, by equipment, and by test. By looking at the dashboard, it's easy to understand where the time is spent and where the focus should be on. The dashboard includes two specific charts to provide a metric on the turnaround time. The first one focuses on the selection. So whatever you selected, you will get a % of the success rate. So how often do you meet the date? In this particular dashboard, the turnaround target is also a parameter that's manipulable. So you can increase the turnaround time target to 95% if that would be a request from higher management, or if it's a new goal from the company. And then you would see, based on historical data, how your actual turnaround time is comparing against that. So it can give you an impression on what needs to be done to improve. So what this means is that having the big data and the data set of a fully implemented, well-maintained and constantly updated LIMS system combined with the power of advanced analytics enables us to have deep insights and gain new knowledge and better understanding about our processes and customer expectations. In the end, this is a very powerful combination that allows our customers to really proactively intervene in how they run their operations. Of course, we have also different dashboards referring to lab workload. This one is called the Laboratory Manager Overview, but at the end it's a snapshot of the laboratory. So at a glimpse it is possible to see the growth over year, or drill down through quarter, months and days to find out about different time spans, about the work accomplished in the labs. So finally, the data is also broken down by tests, by equipment and by analysts to allow the user to understand the work distribution in the laboratory. Of course, here you can also use multiple filters to allow you to focus on the appropriate data, whether it be on specific sites, service groups, statuses, or years, or even tests. Now, in our introduction, we have talked about machine learning and implementing algorithms to get more insights out of data regarding the future possibilities. This is one of the dashboards that we have that actually is already prepared for this. It displays sample volume over time broken down by service group. So the system provides a forecast for the volume to help understand what is likely to happen based on previous months or years. So volume is not the only factor in the equation here, however, so another forecastable variable is execution time. As such, the dashboard also provides a chart broken down by service group, which provides the spend time for past data and the forecast for the execution time, providing important insights on the possible resource needs of the lab. This, of course, is a standard dashboard, but with the data that you have at your disposition when you have a fully implemented STARLIMS system and future technologies that are becoming available, you will be able to produce more powerful forecast tools with advanced analytics and have a better understanding of your future challenges. Another very popular dashboard is the workload analysis, the test workload analysis. This workload analysis dashboard aggregates all the work done in the lab down to the hour of the day. As such, it can be used to understand at what time of the day, which site, which instruments and which teams are most occupied and what they are doing. So one simple use case for this dashboard would be to use it to streamline your lab processes in trying to flatten out the work to reduce workload at specific hours and raise it at others, so you can have a better distribution of the resources at your lab. Let's switch from workload to something like a complex entity like a clinical trial. Clinical trials are entities where different types of analysis can be achieved depending on the scope and visit and patient demographics. The trial overview dashboard gives general information about the trial, such as demographics and the proportion of results, out of spec A, out of spec B, and done, broken down into different entities. The trial overview and analysis give more details and different kind of analysis to provide the clinical lab different views on the results. This is meant as a brainstorming dashboard to provide different analysis ideas. The last dashboard focuses on the results per visit. The purpose here is to use the funnel chart to understand at which visit, if any, improvement starts to be seen for real. There are also multiple breakdowns and filter options here to see if there are any correlations between age, weight and visits, or even where the people may come from. Now, I know that we are nearing the end of our presentation, but I promised to show you something about the integration between STARLIMS and advanced analytics. Not just the analysis part, but how it's really part of our system. And therefore I chose the out-of-specs dashboard, where users can see at a glance if there's a peak of out-of-specs batches and on which product or with which method. It's possible to drill down into the details of the product or the test for further analysis. Once a root cause has been identified, either through investigation of the product or through the method, the user might be interested in seeing which these affected batches were. Again, the list of batches is just one click away. But there comes the most significant feature of this dashboard. If an action needs to be taken on a batch, for example, opening an investigation or checking the batch genealogy, then the user can just select the batch, and the selected batches or batch will be opened in the Batch Manager application. Within the Batch Manager, he can then open the STARLIMS Traceability app, where all data and metadata regarding this batch are recorded, like the instrument use, the certifications, and also a full and complete audit trail, where all the actions that have been undertaken on this batch and by whom are recorded. So we have seen that from analyzing big data and a trend in out of specs, we have entered the door into going into the system and analyzing what's going on. If necessary, we could reopen an investigation or perform other actions on this batch. This is an example of how analyzing big data with advanced analytics and the use of STARLIMS integrate with each other to optimize the laboratory processes. Well, we've got about Right.
Okay, so thank you, Arne, for the excellent presentation. We now have the pleasure to introduce our Q&A session, where we will address your questions. So don't forget, you can still submit your queries via the questions panel in the menu on the right. So let's take a look at the first question. So what is the required skill set to develop new advanced analytics dashboards?
Okay, that is a good question. Okay, so what you have to keep in mind here is that to build entirely new dashboards or modify the ones that Arne has just shown you in the presentation, there are no programming skills required. So there is a graphical designer that you can use to modify existing dashboards or build new dashboards. And the knowledge, the skill set that is required is you need to have some understanding of the underlying data structure, of course. But this is, of course, something that as a customer that you could get an introduction and documentation for. So that, yeah, if you have this understanding, then you can use a simple graphical designer to build and modify those dashboards. So that is the main skill set required. You don't need a programmer. Basically, any IT-affine power user would be able to do something like that.
Okay, thank you, Andreas, for answering that. So the next question that we have here is, how will access be controlled to the dashboards and data?
Okay, yeah, so this is something, you might want for some of those visualizations, you might want to restrict access to particular people, to particular individuals or particular roles. And this is something that is configurable in STARLIMS. So in general, you can set up user roles like lab technician or a lab manager, and so on and so forth. So you can set up as many user roles as you want. And you can, for example, for a dashboard with lab KPIs, restrict access in such a way that only lab managers would be able to see it. Of course, you can also configure it in such a way if, let's say, you would like for particular dashboards that could in principle show data from multiple physical sites of your company, you want to restrict access so that a person from one site can also only see the data of his own site. That is also, of course, something that you could configure. So those are the possibilities how you could restrict the access to the information that can be visualized in those dashboards.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andreas. So the next question, is the Advanced Analytics Builder tool already in LIMS, or is this a separate purchase?
Yeah, okay, so The advanced analytics module in general, this does require a separate license. So in order to use it, yes, this is not included in the standard full concurrent licenses that we offer. The advanced analytics module is licensed separately.
Okay, thank you. The next question. So what is R integration?
Okay, that is a very, very good question. Maybe in case this didn't come across clearly in the presentation, just to quickly reiterate something. What those dashboards are about is what you're doing is you're investigating historical data. So you're taking the historical data that you have in your LIMS database and you build a data aggregate, you visualize, and you analyze it. So if you want to go beyond that, if you don't just want to investigate historical data, if you also want to really model the future, if you want to go into the direction of data science and apply, models for future trends, this is possible. However, this is not something that is included. It's just a technical possibility. So if you have people with the relevant skill sets in your company, so people there that have training as data scientists, the kind of tools that data scientists typically work with, those are called Python and R. So this is what the question is getting, is what is the R integration? R is one of the standard, it's a programming language. It's one of the standard tools of data scientists. And for the data aggregates that you see in those advanced analytics dashboards, what you can do is you can expose them to R and to Python scripts. So if you have data scientists in your company, those dashboards, those data aggregates, they can apply their standard tools to them. They can run models to predict future trends. This is possible. But just again, the reminder, this is not something that we offer from the STARLIMS side. It's just something that is a technical possibility. If you have data scientists in your company, they have everything they need to apply their models. But yeah, it's not something that we offer as part of this package. It's just that the possibility is there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andreas. The next question that we have here is, does Abbott Informatics offer training for advanced analytics dashboard development?
Oh, yes, certainly. We have a dedicated training, particularly for exactly this. We have a dedicated STARLIMS Advanced Analytics training, which is then focused on introducing you to this designer that you've also seen in a demo a couple of minutes ago, show you, how to use it, how to modify dashboards, build new dashboards, add all of those controls, like the different kind of charting elements that you've seen. And yes, so we definitely do offer that. We have a specific advanced analytics training exactly for this purpose. Yes.
Okay. So the last question that we have time to answer live is it required separate server and database for advanced analytics, or can it be deployed in the same server for production environment?
So it can be deployed on the same server, but this is not recommended. So it does depend a little bit on how many concurrent users you are expecting, because you can imagine these kind of dashboards, visualizing and investigating them. There is a performance impact, a potential one. So you can operate both of them, the standard LIMS system and the advanced analytics tool. You can run them on the same application server, but there might be a performance impact, and we would not recommend this. Just for performance reasons, we would recommend to operate those on separate servers. But especially if you have a rather small number of concurrent users, you might still be fine running both of them on the same server.
Okay, great. So thanks, Arne and Andreas. That's all we have time for today. So any unanswered questions will be responded to via email. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. And as you leave the webinar, a survey will appear on your screen asking you to rate the webinar. Please take a moment to provide your feedback. On behalf of Abbott Informatics, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's webinar, and we hope to see you soon, all again soon. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.